Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. Really quickly, I do want to talk about the Duke perspective. The chat is humming. I got to get to some of these comments and some of these questions. Let me say this. I know we got a lot of Kentucky fans in the chat. I know we literally have thousands of you watching at this particular moment, okay? But at the end of the day, listen, I'm going to say this. I know it's easy. Oh, it's Duke. Duke stinks. They're whatever. No. That's what we're going to do. We keep it 100% on this show. We keep it real on this show. I actually came away impressed by Duke. And I will say this. If that is their team on November 12th, and if that is the worst that they are going to look over the course of the season, let me go ahead and give them credit. They were better than I thought. They were more resilient than I thought. Now, they didn't make the plays down the stretch. Kentucky's 22, 23, 24-year-old grown men did. But we got to give credit where it's due because I actually came away impressed by that Duke team. And one thing about Duke, I'll say this. I said in the preview, if you watch the preview, what was it? We got 15,000 people watch the preview, thousands more listen on podcasts, whatever. But what I said, is the moment going to be too big for the Duke freshman? I said, look, Cooper Flagg has played for that Team USA select team. You know, he played with Anthony Davis and LeBron James and all those guys in the Summer Olympic stuff. He was on the Team USA select team that scrimmaged the Olympic team, okay? But I bring it up because I remember saying on Monday, I said, what about Kaman Malawach? You know, he played in the Olympics, but he was a reserve. Is he ready for this stage? Is he ready for the moment? Is he ready for this? Is he ready for that? And then, of course, also Kon Knipple. I said, listen, great player, but it's one thing to do it against Army, and it's one thing to do it against Maine, and it's another thing to do it against Kentucky on the biggest stage in college basketball. And so I only bring it up to very simply say this, is that I want to give Duke credit. And I don't care if it doesn't make me cool to give credit to Duke. That team is really impressive. Those freshmen are really good. I actually like the way that Jon Scheyer has constructed this team. And I'm here to tell you, if you don't think that Duke team, if that is the worst that we see, they're only going to get better as time goes on. Let's give Duke some credit because they have themselves a darn good basketball team right now. In terms of that game, listen, think about that game. Duke's three best players. All freshmen, including a 17-year-old player in Cooper Flagg. Listen, we all knew how good Cooper Flagg is, but as I said in the preview, I think this was kind of his national coming out party. And I think what we saw from Cooper Flagg is the idea that his best attribute isn't scoring, okay? And I said this the other day. I said, look, I think, I think when we think of these five-star can't-miss freshmen and, you think of Zion, you think of John Wall, you think of guys that can take over games scoring wise. By the way, I was at John Wall's first big game against UConn at Madison Square Garden. Okay. John Wall took over that game offensively, but I only bring it up to very simply say this is that what makes Cooper Flagg different, he can get you buckets, but he really does a little bit of everything. And he's not that typical freshman that his entire persona as a basketball player is to get you 32 a night. But he gets you 26. And I think, again, this was on full display of how good he can be. Now, he had the turnovers late, but 26 points, 12 boards, 2 assists, 2 blocks. Listen, he was all over the court. I came away very impressed. And I can tell you this, I had Kentucky fans in my text messages and my DMs and my tweets telling me, Torres, this kid, he's as good as advertised. Wow, that is a really, really, really good basketball player, okay? Beyond that, I'll say this, the other 2 freshmen were phenomenal. Kaman Malawach was awesome, controlled the paint, dealt with all sorts of cramps and all this and all that, but he finished that game with 10 points, 7 rebounds, 2 blocks. I thought he was fantastic for a true freshman who people don't know his backstory. He's only been playing basketball about 6-7 years, something like that. Came to the United States, playing really well, as I said, was a backup in the Olympics. And then the Kon Knipple kid. Listen, if you listen to anybody that follows college basketball, if you listen to anybody that has basically, if you follow anybody who really kind of has a, follows kind of the high school ranks, this, that, the other thing, is that they will tell you, people that have been to Duke practices have said, listen, Cooper Flagg's the number one pick in the draft, but this Con Knipple kid is the real deal, as good as advertised, better than advertised, probably an NBA draft prospect, top 10, top 15 prospect in his own right. He finished that game with 14 points, and most of them coming in the first half. So I was impressed by Duke's freshmen. This was their first big stage. Listen, it wasn't Lamont Butler's first rodeo. It wasn't Otega Oweh's first rodeo. It wasn't Andrew Carr's first rodeo. It was for Kaman Malawach. It was for Con Knipple. It was for Cooper Flagg, obviously. And so to play as well as they did, it's kind of crazy. Duke put up 72 points. Let's do some quick math here. 50 of those 72 came from the three freshmen. And what I like is I like the pieces that Shire's put around him. Caleb Foster, freshman a year ago. He's obviously a sophomore now. Point guard, 4 points, 4 assists. Did miss a couple wide open threes that kind of ended up being costly. But like him at the point guard spot, like the Tyrese Proctor, who I thought played really well as a veteran guy on this team, and like the pieces around him. And so I just bring it up to say very simply that the bottom line is like, wow, that team, that was their third college basketball game. And unlike, listen, say what you want, but Kansas played at Arkansas, Tennessee played Indiana. A lot of these teams played high-profile scrimmages and charity exhibitions. This was Duke's first big game. So they played really well. Push comes to shove. I just don't think they had enough poise late, but that doesn't mean that as the season goes on and as this team gets more confidence, I think Duke is going to be just fine. By the way, the cool thing about college basketball, and I love college football, but this is just so different than college basketball. Duke's playing everybody in the preseason, okay? So they will play at Arizona next Friday. They'll play Kansas in Vegas the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. I will actually be at that game. And then also on top of that, they will play Arizona. I said at Arizona. They'll play Kansas. They'll play a couple other big games, including Auburn in the ACC SEC Challenge. So Duke, listen, I know it's cool to trash Duke. I know it's cool to, Duke sucks. Da, da, da. No. Listen, they looked really good. They're going to get better. They're going to get experience. And if you don't think that is a team that is good enough to make moves, I'm sorry. Think again.